We are live for Championship Saturday here at Mooresville, North Carolina at Trackhouse Motorplex for the Stars Championship Series night fight. It's noon, still not yet night, Jerry, but it's been a wild weekend of racing so far, and you see the aerial view. We already have go-karts out on the racetrack, and you see the schedule here. Again, we are live for warm-ups here on this Saturday afternoon from 12 p.m. Eastern. We go into the pre-finals. That's going to be live for KC Premium members only. So for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Joining me alongside in the booth is the one and only Jerry Fandry on what's been a good weekend so far, to say the least here, Jerry. And we love the Stars Championship Series every time that we come out here. There's donuts as well on the final day, so that's always a cool thing as well. I know we got our own as well, so make sure for those of you here in the paddock to come by and grab some donuts, a box of donuts for your team and whatnot. So a huge shout out to Joe Janaski, Christian Marsh, and the entire Stars Championship Series team for providing that here for us. And as always, the fences are lined here. Jerry, it's been a great weekend of racing, to say the least. What have been your thoughts at this point?
Absolutely, Caleb. I mean, you know, we saw pro show qualifying, I believe, Thursday night with our OKN class and our pro shifter class, and then moving on to yesterday, we've seen qualifying for all of our other classes, and we also seen heat races, heats 1 and 2, and then we also seen Moto 1 and Moto number 2, and yeah, Kart's on track right now, Caleb, and we are gearing up for a very eventful and very action-packed day here at Trackhouse Motorplex, and K100 Masters on track now.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day of racing, to say the least here. These drivers are gearing up to go green for their pre-final here in about an hour and a half time. And some of the big storylines coming into this one. John Bonanno, the comp kart for Timmy Tech, is leading the championship coming into this weekend. Looks to hold on to that number 1 plate. But the driver right behind him is looking to deny him from a final race win on the season. Dusty Davis, North Carolina local, with a big and a huge background in motorsports, has been the quickest driver and the driver to beat so far this weekend. But the big story for him was issues for him in heat race number 2, put him out of contention on the outlap, and that allowed a couple of other drivers to get there and get into the mix. The likes of Jacob Neary, who's also in the championship fight here this weekend, Austin Queen, Todd Shambo, as well North Carolina local, if I'm not mistaken, I think in Georgia now, but a lot of laps around a place like Trackhouse Motorplex, where Todd Shambo has also gotten into the mix and into the fight here this weekend. And for these KA Masters, I mean, the field has been super, super close all weekend long. Dusty Davis was really the only driver that was able to pull away from the rest of the field. But again, with his mechanical DNF, or DNS, I should say, because he wasn't able to start, allowed the rest of the field to kind of get into the mix and inside of the top 10. So it was a much closer and a much, less of a wider spread whenever we got into that second heat race. And again, they're going to fight for the pole position in the pre-final here in about 2 hours time, an hour and a half, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least here, Jerry, and we're super excited for them to kind of hit the racetrack and show us who's going to be the champion here at the Stars Championship Series in 2024.
Right, Caleb. You know, we have a lot of things to mention today. You know, going over the course of about all of our classes here, we'll be giving championships to about all of our classes. And in this class here, last year's champion was John Bonanno on that Timmy Tech comp kart. And, you know, we've seen him struggle a little bit through the first heat race, but it really seemed like that second heat race he was really able to get going and, you know, show some of that speed that, you know, we know that he can have. And talking a little bit about some of the other drivers in this class, Dusty Davis yesterday, like you mentioned, Caleb, he had that DNS in that second heat. So, yeah, that is going to be hurting his starting position a little bit. But nevertheless, still for Dusty Davis, he still is today to, you know, work his way back forward. Another driver in this class, Jacob Nairi, and, you know, all the other drivers here are very competitive and ultra close here with about 3/10 covering the top 10 in this warm-up session.
Yeah, so let's take you around a lap here at Trackhouse Motorplex. For those of you who watch Kart Chaser and know this place provides some great racing action, but for those of you that are new here this weekend and watching for the first time or watching Trackhouse Motorplex for the first time, this track is, I guess our cameras definitely do not do it justice with all the elevation changes, the banked corners and whatnot that this track also has. And another thing, our cameras do not do justice the speed that these drivers are also going. So they're running up the last 2 corners here, but we'll take you through a lap here at Trackhouse Motorplex. You round turn number 12 onto this long main straightaway. It's obviously a slow exit. You go wide and then into turn number 1. It's almost a brush of the brakes, and then you turn right. And that's a spot where it's hard to pass, but if you do get it done, you ruin your opponent's run into turn number 3, which is also this fast right-hander, almost flat out if I'm not mistaken. And then turn number 4, like you're seeing here on your screen, one of the biggest passing zones where we're going to see passes being made all weekend long. And that's a little bit of a banked corner, a bull corner. Then you go to turn number 5 and turn number 6 here. Don't expect any passing there. Dalton Haynes is not racing this weekend. The only driver that we've seen make some moves through there. But turn number 8, another big passing zone, the heaviest braking zone in this on this circuit so far this weekend. And then 5 and 6, this is a place where we're expecting to see a lot of over-unders here. Sorry, turn number 9 and 10, you can say a lot of over-unders. And then 11 and 12, again, it's super hard to pass here, but if you are able to get it done, you're going to ruin your opponent's run onto the main straightaway, and it could also it could also kind of affect your run if you send it in a little bit too deep. And again, take a look at the barriers here in turn number 2. Those were actually moved further to the right. They were further left yesterday, so it's kind of making drivers to take the chicane and slow down that run into turn number 3. That could be for safety reasons again, but it's moved over to the right, so they actually have to take the chicane now instead of just clobbering that turn 2 chicane. So they have to, I guess, go to the right and then go back to the left, and that's going to affect a little bit of the setup, a little bit of the gearing as well. From drivers we've been hearing already this morning that they may need to add a tooth onto their gearing because of, I guess, how slowing that chicane is going to be before they get into turn number 3. So that's one of the big things to look out for, and this is the biggest real test that they're going to have. But your KA Masters warm-up 2 wrapped up here. Josh Ram, the fastest driver on the racetrack for the Timmy Tech Kart team. Dusty Davis 2nd, Bonanno 3rd, Shane Burkett 4th, and Peter Cook 5th here. So that being said, that's your unofficial results here for KA Masters warm-up number 2, and then you go down the rest of your field. But again, there is donuts here this weekend, the Stars Championship Series providing us, and that's what they've done all weekend long. Jerry, we've gotten ours already, and I know we're about to dive in on those here in a couple of moments, but go back and pick up your donuts. You see Braden Eves there, excited about that as well. But yeah, go if you're in the paddock, go ahead and grab you a box. Grab a box for the team. Grab a box for everybody else as well, and for drivers as well. A little bit of I guess a warm-up or a pre-workout almost. And again, we got our box sitting right here for us, so thank you to the entire Stars Championship Series. Jerry, I'll give you the honors here first. Grab yourself a donut, my man. And I'll grab myself one as well here. So again, we appreciate the entire Stars Championship Series for providing this for us, and it's good. I don't want to give the fans a little bit too much of an ASMR, but we're definitely going to dive in here in a couple of moments' time. So we head back out to the racetrack as we dig in on this. Well, we appreciate that little break. I know me and Jerry dove into our donuts there, and that was great. So we appreciate, again, the Star Championship Series for providing that for us here this weekend. But on the racetrack now, your Micro Swift class. And this class really provided us with some great racing action. We saw a lot of 3-car breakaways all day yesterday. The likes of Orioli, Zane Burgess, and Dutch Westbrook were the drivers that pulled away from the rest of the field. And again, the pole position going into the pre-final is going to go the way of the Jamaican sensation and Zane Burgess with a pole position in qualifying, and then a win in the first heat, and Orioli took the win in the second heat. But again, that qualifying average goes the way of Zane Burgess to start on the pole position for the pre-final. And the front row is going to stay relatively the same, with Orioli also having the second best average on the weekend. And it looks like Dutch Westbrook is going to start third later on today in that pre-final. But a lot of drivers have already, I guess, finished up there. And you see the fence lines are packed there. A couple of the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic team that is watching on as some of the younger drivers head out onto the racetrack. And again, it's a big family environment here this weekend. We talked about it, Jerry. I mean, this racetrack is packed from fence line to fence line. You can't fit another car into the parking lot, and the paddock as well is super, super packed. About over 250 drivers here this weekend. I think nearing the 260 driver mark this weekend. So it's good to see, I guess, to end up the Star Championship Series this way with big numbers, and that's how it's been all year long. We started off with 280 to 290 at Charlotte Motor Speedway here in North Carolina back in February or April, if I'm not mistaken. And then we went further on in the year, and again, it was just growing and growing every single weekend. So it's good to see the growth of this entire series as well throughout the years. And we talked to Joe Janowski last week, and he was saying that they weren't expecting it to get this big. It's the level it's gotten to, but they're definitely happy that it did. But on the racetrack with your Micro Swift, Jaden Francisco is having a good showing so far in this morning warm-up session. A 54.710 puts him top of the timing screen here, Jerry.
Yeah, Caleb, it's still 4 minutes left here. All these kids getting out on track, making sure that, their equipment is reliable, and they're all set to go later on today for that pre-final and, that main event that is oh so crucial going on tonight back under the lights here at Trackhouse. But a couple things to mention in this class. Someone we've seen struggle a little bit yesterday, Jack Katowski with the DNF in that second heat race. Seen Easton Kubinski have to, work his way from the rear of the grid after what I believe was a chassis swap for them from the KR back to the OTK that, Easton is used to. We've seen, I believe, Lawrence Perriman have a pretty strong day yesterday. Zane Burgess, ultra fast in that mixed conditions first heat race. And, with that mixed conditions heat race, it really shows how much, the knowledge of these young drivers, Caleb, and how much experience they have, no matter the condition, rain, sunshine, And yesterday we had a lot of, not much sun yesterday. Caleb, we had mixed conditions, like I mentioned, and a lot of overcast.
Yeah, a very overcast day yesterday. And again, take a look at the radar here on the right-hand side of your screen. There is clouds in the area, but there's no actual storm cells that are in the area that are passing through. I mean, again, just a little bit of storms with a little bit of sprinkling, but again, nothing too major that is going to put a halt in the racing or mix it up here just that little bit. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty sunny day here. A little bit cloudy, but again, you take a look here at the cells that were passing through here a couple of moments ago, but it looks to be A-okay. So the mechanics can finally take a breath here today and only focus on their setup, to say the least. But again, yesterday, I mean, we saw it in the Microsoft class, the first of their heat races. It was a gamble all the way through, and the majority of the field went onto the wet tires. And then the drivers on the slick tires were the ones that were the beneficiaries of it all. Obviously had to tiptoe around the racetrack, but were able to get it done there in the end. And again, in this turn yesterday, this driver here on your screen, the 28, had a tire come off in qualifying that, almost ruined his entire run throughout the heat races, and he had to work his way up the field every single heat. And again, driving from the back, it's hard to keep your nose clean and stay out of the chaos. But he was able to get it done quite nicely, and I think he's slated for a top 15 start later on today in his pre-final. So we'll see if Perriman can continue to make some moves here as well. And right behind him, the 41 of Lennox Lockhart as well. We saw him have issues in the qualifying session where he went around and into the Grass-Scott Beach and unfortunately couldn't finish his qualifying session. And he was able to work his way up in the heats as well. In heat race number 2, he got up to 7th, so look out for Lennox to try and take the fight to the top 5 here shortly. And that was one of the big stories as well, right? The top 3 were able to break away because of all the fighting that was kind of occurring from 4th on back with the likes of Camila Canache and a couple of other drivers that were fighting kind of for the best of the rest and allowed the top 3 to really get away here. But look for those Oriole Kart Performance MPG Academy drivers to kind of get up there. Another one, the Bennick machines have also been super quick of Dutch Westbrook, and Dominic Nagel has had a lot of pace so far this weekend, but again, he found himself in the wall, unfortunately, yesterday as well in that wet heat race that we had, and Zev Gottschalk as well has found himself with some issues, but a good showing for him in this morning warm-up session to beat an 8th at the moment. So a lot of drivers that have really made improvements, but Jerry, who has been your standout so far in this class?
You know, it's so hard to not say it's Zane. You know, we travel all across the country, and this kid is oh so quick, you know, like I mentioned earlier, no matter the conditions, you know, and Jaden Francisco on screen there next to Santi Orioli, and Santi was really trying to take it there to Zane yesterday, but, you know, just wasn't able to get there in that second heat race. And, you know, yeah, those 3 on screen there, definitely 3 of your strongest runners here. Some other drivers to mention. Dutch Westbrook has had a pretty solid weekend. Danny O'Gara has been about that 10th to 6th range, but, you know, they've definitely been working at it underneath that MPG tent there with all the coaches, Chase Jones, Braden Eves underneath the MPG tent this weekend, and, you know, they'll definitely be working at it with all of their drivers, Danny O'Gara alike, Santi Orioli, and yeah, definitely going to be working to get all of their drivers peak performance, and, you know, try to get everything that they can get out of those KRs. And yeah, this warm-up session coming to a finish here. Yeah, and this turn 1 barrier here, something to mention is we've been getting some reports that drivers have been clipping that barrier, you know, now that we have moved it back to what I would say is the normal design for that barrier. You know, what everyone is used to at this facility. Yeah, yesterday we did have it moved out a little bit, and you know, all the drivers are definitely adjusting to that now, Caleb.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the biggest things is another driver slams into that barrier, and again, you need to be careful with how much you push it. If it's directly on the side pod, obviously it's not going to cause any damage. You're probably going to scuff your sticker kit, to say the least, but if you hit it at the wrong spot, either with your front tire or your rear tire, you're, you know, in risk of bending a tie rod, snapping a tie rod for that matter, or bending an axle at the end of it, and that's not going to help your charge at all. But again, when you look at it here, everybody's been able to keep it clean. No drivers DNFing in this morning warm-up session. But again, that was one of the big stories. It changed overnight. They kind of did it for the safety of it. And you know, drivers are going to want to get that competitive edge over and push that thing as far out as they can. And it was the same thing last year when we came here for the Miami Grand National Championships, when that turn 12 barrier was kind of closer to the racetrack. A lot of drivers were kind of hitting it perfectly to move it wider and wider, and the likes of ADT were drivers who unfortunately had DNFs due to that. But for these shifter drivers, this is going to be the first real test. These are the ones that are, you know, going to be carrying the most speed on the exit of turn number 1. So this is going to be something to look out for, and again, for our KE seniors as well. But all day yesterday was all about this man here on your screen. Jordan Musser, the 661 from Dallas, Texas, was the class of the field here in Master Shifter. They're set to come out here in a couple of moments' time. That being said, we'll take our first commercial break on this Saturday afternoon. When we come back, we catch up with your Pro Masters and your Rok Masters.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop akr.com.
Welcome back here, your Pro Masters. Like we said, out on the racetrack now. Jordan Musser, top of the timing chart so far, 55.695. And this driver has been the quickest so far this weekend, and he just sets down a flyer, 47.7. That's about the similar race pace that they have as well when they get into it later on today. Jake Fetter, currently the second quickest driver, 48.130. You go back to Matt Machiko, a 48.283, his personal best. Everybody else improving as well. Ryan Frankie and the VTM. Rob Schumacher karts, a 49.249. Nick D'Andrea, 49.209. But this class had a good first start in the heat race, in heat race number 1. But when you get into heat race number 2, the exact opposite. A couple of drivers got together. Nick D'Andrea, I believe, Skitchy Barnes, Carlos Lopez, and a couple of other drivers were involved in an incident that put a lot of them out of contention when this race continued to progress. But this driver here from Dallas, Texas hasn't raced a national race all weekend long, and he's been one of the biggest stories on his return. The last time we saw him in national racing action was last year at the Las Vegas Super Nationals 26, where he fell just short of a Super Nationals title to the likes of, goodness gracious, the name is escaping my name here. And this is terrible. But yeah, he fell just short to a Super Nationals title yesterday, last year, and now this year he's back looking to make his return. And Davide Ford, goodness, I don't know how I forgot that, but Davide Ford was the driver that Jordan Musser felt that he did lead laps in that race, and then Foray was finally able to get ahead of him. I have no idea how that name just completely escaped my head here. Davide, again, I believe he is racing in the World Championships next weekend or 2 weekends from now. For the KZ Masters World Championship title. So we did see Jordan Musser last weekend, or I should say earlier this month at the Texas Racing Series, where he raced at Dallas Kart Complex, his home track. He was able to get the win over, again, very talented driver in Vincent Cassard that weekend. But look out for Jordan Musser to be quick. And again, Matt Machiko currently the quickest on the racetrack. And he's been one of the drivers that we've talked about a lot. He hasn't had the pace to be up there with the top 3. He was kind of sitting around in 3rd and 4th all day yesterday. But he looks pretty good this morning, Jerry. I mean, I must say, a 46.678 to be quicker, a 10th quicker than Jordan Musser so far this morning is a good showing for Machiko, to say the least.
Right, and like you said, Caleb, we've seen him in that 3rd and 4th position yesterday. And, if we go back to the beginning of this year, back in April, when we were at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Queen City Gambit, it was pretty much the same deal for Matt Machiko. 3rd and 4th, and, around that range in the heat races, just really didn't have, what he was looking for, over the course of that weekend. It seemed to be a little bit of the same here this weekend. But, with the pre-finals later on today, he has another chance to make some changes to his kart and, see if he can get that setup underneath him a little bit better and, look to progress to go forward in that heat race, or excuse me, not that heat race, that pre-final later on today, and then, tonight, that main event under the lights. But, yeah, a lot of racing going on tonight, and make sure you guys are here for all of this action. And let's talk a little bit about our the Rok engines. We have Mike Rivera yesterday and Scott Skitchy Barnes. They were dueling it out in the 7th and 8th overall positions in that second heat race. But, in that Rok class, that would be their 1st and 2nd. And you see the 601 there rejoining on the exit of the turn 8 hairpin. Not too sure what happened there. We'll see if we can figure out what went on for that driver. I believe that was Kovacs. And, yeah, on screen here, this driver here, Joe Ruck, we've seen him all throughout the year be super strong. I believe we've seen him, I think he won MCC. Caleb, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's been super strong throughout this year and definitely looking to put that Maranello back on the top of the board, but currently only 5th in this warm-up session. It's a little hard to tell, the pace in the warm-up session because, right, they're just getting onto the track and, these drivers, just making sure their equipment is good. No one really pushing too hard, and something to mention too, Caleb, is that all these drivers putting on, older tires that they practiced on, and, not everyone's really on the same rubber. So, you can't really go off of lap times too much, but certain drivers definitely more comfortable than others. And Matt Machiko up to the top.
Yeah, Matt Machiko still at the top here. But again, you were talking about Joe Rok, and for Joe, it's been a wild year, to say the least. For Joe Rok, he had a DNF yesterday in the second heat race that put him out, and he's fighting for a championship here this weekend with the likes of Scott Presti and a couple of other drivers. So that's not what he really needs in terms of championship, and he's going to need a much better pre-final to work his way through the field. But again, all year for Joe Rok has been on and off. He was able to clinch the SCUSA Pro Tour Championship and Master Shifter, so that was a good showing for him. But it hasn't been a smooth sailing weekend and straightforward for him in quite some time, and he's looking for that here this weekend. He was able to win at the Clash at the Club not too long ago, so that was good for Rok. But again, he's not content, especially with how his day ended yesterday. And again, for those of you, this is the final round of the Stars Championship Series in 2024. Looking forward to 2025. The schedule, again, takes us back to the Queen City Gambit at Charlotte Motor Speedway, April 11th, 13th. And then we go to Newcastle Motorsports Park, the same first two rounds at Newcastle Motorsports Park for the King of the Castle. To be announced, July 11th to 13th. That's the round that hasn't yet been announced. We don't know where we're going yet. We've seen, obviously, it's been a very busy conversation on Discord, and a lot of drivers and a lot of team owners and us especially have had a lot of suggestions on where we think the Stars Championship Series should go. But here next year, in September 11th, 13th, almost the same weekend, the night fight is going to be the marquee event of the year and going to wrap up the year here again in 2025. So that's news on next year for those of you planning on coming out or racing here. But that's going to be it. Checkered flag out in the air for your Pro Masters and your Rok Masters. Matt Machiko was quickest on the racetrack, a 46.436. Muster was second. Presti, Feder, Ruck, Rivera, the first of your Rok Power Plant machines. You go back to Ryan Frank, Nicholas DeAndrea, Carlos Lopez, Sketchy Barnes running up your top 10. Moving forward, your KA juniors are getting set to go out onto the racetrack, and that's one of the classes that has a pre-final B. So if you find yourself on the bubble, you need to race your way in to the main event, or the main final, the A main, you could say. So that's going to be almost like a B main, but again, an LCQ in other terms. So it's going to be critical for those drivers to try and get themselves in to that main event later on today, or get into the show, like we like to say. So it's going to be, critical for all these drivers to kind of be on it. Keep your nose clean. Don't give the mechanic too much work after this warm-up session. Keep your equipment clean. Keep it nice and tidy, and do whatever. Just need to warm yourself up, get yourself back in the groove, get yourself back in the groove of the racetrack as well. So that's going to be important for all these drivers here today. And you look on the championship fights this weekend in this class. It's been a wild weekend and a wild turn to the championship. We saw it in the senior classes all weekend long and all year long as well. Yesterday was a big blow in the championship, and that's when it starts coming into play. But for a driver like Derek Wargo, he looks to race his way in and drive your line Kart team here this weekend, as well with a couple of other teammates. Engines are fired, and they get set to go out onto the racetrack. So last little bit of testing, last little bit of warm-up for these drivers before they try and fight their way into the pre-final, into the main event, I should say, here, Jerry. And it's, you need to be clean and work your way through. We see a lot of fighting in the LCQs, especially for the lead or whatnot, and it's just a matter of working together and trying to get away.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. When we talk these pre-final Bs, or like you said, LCQs, the really important factor, for all of these drivers is, one, make it through the start, survive, make sure all your equipment is clean, you didn't have any contact, nothing's bent, like you mentioned. You don't want to be coming in and ruining anything. But yeah, it's definitely crucial in those pre-final Bs to make sure you keep your nose clean, so that you're able to push forward and try to put your kart up into that above the bubble spot. And that's oh so crucial for these drivers. But here this is your warm-up session for these drivers, and the whole thing warm-up, just shake down the kart, and I'm sure plenty of these drivers are changing setups and trying something different. Try to go further up the order today. But, that's really just the case for all of these drivers. I'm sure a ton of coaching going on last night for all of these drivers. We can work on those lines and try to find some time, work their way forward today.
Yeah, it's going to be critical for all those drivers to kind of work their way forward. This is a second group of drivers that are already qualified into the main event later on today. So that's, the key thing for them. Already have that, I guess, off their shoulders, not to worry about all too much. But again, it's going to be a wild one here this weekend, to say the least, Jerry. And all these drivers already fighting it out just a little bit. And again, a huge shout out to some of our drivers that we're used to seeing here in the States racing overseas at the FIA Karting World Championships this weekend. The likes of Chico Brown was able to finish 6th in one of the qualifying heats, and he finds himself in a good spot to qualify for the main event in the World Championships. Joe Turney as well. He is set to make his return at the SCUSA Super Nationals 27 later on this year in November. So he's leading the points, and they're going to start on the pole for the Super Heats as well. And Victor Dowling cars out there as well, and a couple of other Americans. Harley Keeble, to say the least, as well, is out there. So good to see all those drivers out there and fighting here this weekend. And again, a huge shout out as well to Connor Zilic, who grew up racing at this racetrack at Trackhouse Motorplex. And he was able to clinch the pole position in his first Xfinity start, only 10 laps. And man, that guy can for sure rip whatever you put him in. And these drivers, they definitely want to get there someday, Jerry.
Yeah, Caleb. We talk about some of the great drivers that came out of this facility. We talk Connor Zilic, drivers the likes of Brent Cruz, Thomas Annunziata, and
a couple of others that are also coming up: Carter McMurray, Keelan Harvick, and the list goes on and on and on. And you see, I was talking to Jimmy McMurray actually earlier on this week, and he was like, on a random week day, you can get here, and there's going to be the likes of Will Power, IndyCar drivers, NASCAR drivers, Bubba Wallace, and the Willem Byron. The list goes on and on and on. And this, place and this state, you could say, North Carolina, is a big hub for racing and for motorsports. It's almost in the air. It's infectious whenever you get here.
Yeah, absolutely right, Caleb. Even when we got here, I believe on Wednesday, we seen Joey Logano and his whole crew out here doing some rental karts. And we heard from him, and he's like, yeah, every time I win, I just take the whole team out to Trackhouse, and, we run some laps together.
So here before me, because I missed that part. That would have been super cool to see, to say the least there, Jerry.
Yeah, Caleb. That was really cool to see. And like you said, this facility, so many great drivers that came out of here, and, looking on to the future. Like you mentioned, Carter McMurray, a bunch of up-and-coming talent, and a lot of great karters have also came out of here, too. I mean, This is one of the strongest clubs, across the states.
I would really say this is the strongest club in the nation. This is the best place for club racing. I wouldn't even consider it a club series with the amount of national talent that comes out here and race. I would almost consider it. It's at some points bigger than some nationals when they pull 240, 260 drivers where they have to split the days. The KA senior field here is absolutely stacked. The 206 field here with the likes of McKeithen, Jared Clark, and the list goes on and on. We can go on forever about this topic, but the amount of, star power that lives here and that races here at this racetrack, and drivers come out here just to do the club series is absolutely amazing. And we're going to see, again, more rising stars come out of this place. But when you look at the championship here in KA Junior, Ty Fisher leads by 40 points over Enzo Vidmontien. So the TB Kart over the Kart Republic, and you go back to John Antonino with 1,085 points. So he's about 100 points back from Ty Fisher's championship standings. And again, this is updated already. Heat 1 and 2 has already been inputted so far. Nathan Dupuis sits in 4th, and obviously he's on the back foot by a lot because of the qualifying session that he had this weekend. And Isaac Malquit as well is in the top 5 at the moment. So look out for those couple of drivers to have some good showings here this weekend and try and get themselves further up in the championship. But again, Ty Fisher already off to a great start, 2 heat race victories to his name, and the same goes for Enzo Vidmontien, who won 2 of his heat races, but the qualifying obviously went to Ty Fisher.
Yeah, and like you said, Ty Fisher with about a 40 points lead here. Something to mention as I'm looking at these points here, Caleb. Ty Fisher, outside of 2 heat races and a final, hasn't finished any worse than 2nd. And we talked yesterday, what wins championships? It isn't, winning every event of the year. Obviously, that would be a nice way to take it. But we talk consistency, Caleb, and Ty Fisher doing exactly that. And, for Enzo Vidmontien, he was able to sweep both of his heat races yesterday, but Ty Fisher was also able to do the same.
Look, and I'm going to take you through the, positions that Ty Fisher and Enzo Vidmontien have ended up on the year. All the way back at the Queen City Gambit, and Ty Fisher's worst finish that weekend was 4th, and then he finished 2nd in the heat race, 1st in the pre-final, and 2nd in the heat race. And you go to the second round at Newcastle Motorsports Park, you finish 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and 4th in the final. And you go to round number 3 at the Motorsports Club of Cincinnati, where he finished 2nd, 5th, 1st, and 2nd. So his worst finish has been 5th all year long here at Stars, and then obviously with 2 heat race victories to his name already, it's a 1st and a 1st. And you go to Enzo Vidmontien as well, who is up there in this championship battle. A 1st in the first heat race of the year, 2nd, 1st in both of the first 2 heat races, 2nd, and then a 3rd in the final, a 2nd, a 1st, and a 1st. And his worst finish has been in 11th place, and that's what's allowed Ty Fisher to be up there in the championship. And again, an 8th place finish in the championship for Enzo Vidmontien has put him on the back foot here with this points margin that we see now. That's at about 40 points. But again, the favorite this weekend has been Ty Fisher. We've seen the clinic that he's put on throughout the heat races as well, Jerry. He's been wicked quick, to say the least. He absolutely blew the doors off of the entire field in the first heat race, pulled away with by himself. And then in the second heat race with Travis Pettit, they were able to get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, and like you said, with Travis Pettit behind him in that second heat race, it was pretty much the same story in that first heat race as well, Caleb. As soon as Pettit was able to get into that second position, it was a little too late to get up to the rear bumper of his teammate, so he seemed to just block for him there. And same story in that second heat race, but like you mentioned, his teammate Pettit was ultra fast underneath the lights. We've seen times like, I believe it was a 49.6, and everyone else was still in the 50s. And this driver on screen here, Isaac Malquit, currently 5th in points, about 200 points back from your current points leader, Ty Fisher. And Isaac looking to have some consistent runs here today to pick up maybe a spot in the championship.
So this is the back of the grid here. The likes of Nathan Golseth unfortunately got DQ'd in the qualifying session. He had to start from the tail end of the field in all the heat races. He's raced his way up with teammate Hamza Anbar as well in the 885 for the Arcane Motorsports team. But for Isaac Malquit, yesterday, you didn't see a smile on that kid's face. He was unhappy with how his day was going and kind of put a fire in his belly to go out there and improve and try to get himself back in the championship talk. For Isaac Malquit, who sits 5th at the moment, his worst finish has been a 37th, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that could have been a DNF back at Newcastle Motorsports Park after contact with Enzo Vidmontien, put him out of contention, and that was way, way back in the season. But again, a lot of drivers are going to get themselves in the mix. The big story as well, not too long ago, was the MPG Academy boys at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. They were wicked quick, and it was almost a lockout inside of the top 10. Jackson Deal was quick. Landon Boer was quick. And here's the driver who sits on the hot seat looking to get himself ahead in the championship, ahead of Ty Fisher. He's back by 40 points. And whenever they race in the pre-final, that's going to be a crucial turning point in the championship talk here. Again, 50 points goes to the winner of 100 points goes to the winner of the pre-final, and 90 goes to the driver who finishes in second place. We haven't seen Enzo Vidmontien and Ty Fisher race each other yet this weekend because they are in opposite groups. So for the first time, a lot of these drivers are going to be racing each other later on today. So some of these guys haven't raced each other just yet. Look out for Nathan Dupuy as well, who's 4th in the championship at the moment. He's in the officially in the main event, but again, they have to keep it clean in the pre-final if they want to have a good start in the main event later on today. And major championship implications are set to be determined when we get under the lights later on tonight for the night fight. And again, a quick reminder for those of you folks at home, warm-ups are live for everybody to view, but when we get into heat racing action and a pre-final racing action, it's going to be exclusive to KC Premium members only. So for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member, and you can watch all the racing action live. You're not going to want to miss one bit of this weekend's racing because it's definitely going to heat up here as Greggy Heeman leads them out onto the racetrack. Behind him, Ben Abernathy, Sebastian Rist, who's running double duty this weekend, Alexander Young, Taylor, Emerson Lane, and Miller. All the drivers, if I'm not mistaken, I think 30 drivers total have officially qualified for the main event, and then the rest of them are going to have to try and race their way in. We saw 15 drivers from the looks of it, are going to be the ones that have to race for the spot to get in to the main event later on tonight. But already a little bit of racing here. And when you look at this, for a lot of these drivers, they've had really good years. Benham Abernathy as well, one of the drivers who we've talked about a lot and kind of broke out onto the scene so far this year. His worst finish has been a 28, but he's been a top 10 contender week in and week out, fighting for heat race victories, finished second in a couple. So for Benham Abernathy, to see his progression this year has definitely been great, to say the least here, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. He started off the year a little lighter with, I believe that was slow down a little bit, thank you, Caleb. That is a P6 finish there for Benham Abernathy. P6 throughout both of the heat races at our first event at Charlotte, and then P28 in that pre-final. And, it seemed to be a little bit of the same thing at Newcastle, a P6 and P7 in the heat races, and then, a P18 in the pre-final. And, yeah, it really seems like the pre-final is kind of his struggle point. And, we'll see if we can get a word with him later on today. What he thinks has been the issue in those pre-finals, whether it's been one thing or another. But, today he has a chance to redeem himself. We still have pre-finals in about an hour and 15 for this K100 junior class. And, yeah, definitely Benham going to be looking for a better run today.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things as well, right? I mean, you're already qualified into the main event, and we talk a lot about risk versus reward. How much are you going to risk for very little reward, right? Maybe you want to fight for a P5 finish because you want to end up on the inside and not on the outside, especially with the new barriers. That's going to be a big factor. You're not going to want to hold on to it around the outside today into turn number 1. We saw Davin Roberts make a move there on the exit of turn number 1 into turn 2, that chicane, but he was able to do that because those barriers weren't there yesterday, and that's not going to happen today, unfortunately. If you find yourself around the outside, you're going to go head on into a couple of barriers. So a lot of these drivers, we're going to see what we saw kind of 2 weeks ago at the Emigrant National Championships, where Jacob Kolar had to take evasive action into the dirt. And you're going to see a lot of drivers go four wheels off the racetrack and dirt track even further left to this. And again, we heard from a couple of drivers already, it's going to be a change in gearing, a change in setup. You have to make sure that bottom end is good to get you out of turn number 2.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Caleb, we've seen that move from Davin Roberts up the hill. I believe that was turn 3 right on the start, surprising Chase Gasly the same way we've seen, I like to say rookie, but rookie Carter McMurray, we've seen him surprise Hayden Jones the same way in that K100 senior heat too. And, sometimes when drivers here, like Hayden Jones, a veteran here at Trackhouse, it's really tough to get around him. He knows his place inside and out, upside and down. And you really got to surprise him sometimes, and, Carter McMurray was able to do that.
Yeah, so look at the flags here. I mean, the wind, it's almost like a tailwind here on the back straightaway, but it's going to be a headwind whenever you get to that back straightaway. So that, again, could be a little bit of a difference in gearing. And when you look at the flags all wave, it's super, super windy outside. And we'll try to get an exact mile per hour on the winds here, thanks to this trusty Apple weather app that is never wrong, Jerry. And I know that's obviously not true, but obviously, if you guys are wondering, the air quality is pretty good, 26% so far. Good air quality here, but the winds, 12 mile per hour winds, 24 mile per hour gusts, as one driver has issues there in Hamza Anbar, unfortunately. He spent his summer, and I think his airbox actually could have flown off there, unfortunately, there for Hamza Anbar, so I think he's going to be done. And indeed, no airbox on that machine, so that's unfortunate end to Hamza Anbar's, start to the weekend. So, or start to the day, you should say. Unfortunate there for Hamza Anbar, who, like I was saying, spent all the summer in Jordan. Wasn't in the seat as much as he would have liked. Was running Rotax over there, but again, he was saying I'm just waiting and dying to get back to the U.S. so I could race a little bit more and against some stiff competition. So. Back on the racetrack now, Nathan Dupuy, again, one of the drivers that we talked about yesterday, the 883 of Forrest Adams as well has been quick at his home track. He's leading this train away at the moment. And Forrest Adams, again, another driver that has a lot of experience around this racetrack. He's really shown his pace so far all weekend long for that BJR MDR LN Kart team. So look out for him as one driver has hit the wall. That's John Antonino. Goodness gracious, that tie rod is absolutely snapped there by John Antonino, which is a little bit uncharacteristic there for Antonino, especially on this warm-up session, but for that thing to be snapped, especially on the right side, he had to have made contact with another driver, and it could be here. Indy Anderson, the 880, is also out of this warm-up session, and this is exactly what we talk about. You do not need this for your mechanic, for your kart. If you had that set up perfectly yesterday, it's definitely not going to work. And again, those two drivers debriefing what happened, and it looks like they weren't agreeing with whatever was going on. So big story here in the championship for John Antonino, who sits third and could potentially fall under fire to this kid who's in the middle of this train and end up on the podium places at the end here, at the end of the night, where he sits in fourth in the championship. So looking to take it away from Antonino, but goodness gracious, not what you need to start off your day here on Championship Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. You know, with Dupuy only being about 74 points behind John Antonino, you know, it's definitely a big strike to Antonino's confidence and, you know, that momentum he's been carrying all throughout this weekend. To have a incident like that in warm-ups is definitely not what you want. And, you know, they're going to get back to that MPG tent and definitely have a lot of work to do with those tie rods being snapped. And they're definitely going to debrief, see what went wrong, and, you know, definitely talk about, you know, how we could have avoided that in the future. You know, at the same time, Caleb, this is just warm-ups like you mentioned, and, you know, if there's any time you want that to happen at the least, it's the warm-ups.
I mean, I wouldn't want it to happen at any time, honestly, Jerry, but for them, obviously, unfortunately, and again, if you have a little bit of leeway at one session, it's going to be the warm-ups, but me personally, I don't want to spend the money on a new tire rod, on a new kingpin, or whatever could be broken there.
Well, I get what you're saying, Caleb, but it doesn't really matter with the official sessions, so.
You never know. You never know. You never know. That go-kart could never be the same after that crash. Obviously, don't want to.
Oh no, you're absolutely.
I don't want to go overboard or over-speculate here. But again, me personally, not something that I would like to do. If you would like to do that, Jerry, you're more than welcome to. But me personally, I'd like to do that.
Well, Caleb, as long as you leave some room when, you know, someone's next to you on the straightaway, you should be all good, brother.
all right. Enough of that. Enough of it now. But you get onto the back straightaway now. Vin Montien looking for a move. That was a good one. I'll give you a fist bump for that one, Jerry. Yeah, respect here in between us. But back to our actual job now, talking about the racers and the superstars on the racetrack. Quickest here in this morning warm-up session, Max Weiland, who's been quick as well all day yesterday. He finds himself at the top of the timing charts, and Ty Fisher, the kid from Canada, currently second, looking to get his first U.S. national title here this weekend. He got his first U.S. national race win last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, I should say now, at the Grand National Championships. This weekend, he looks to repeat at a racetrack that he loves so much. Unofficial results for your KA Juniors warm up 2A. Weiland from Fisher to Pettit, Deal, and Kai Mars. Rounding up your top 5, Chase Gassi, Leon, Coastal Link, Printing, Nash Motorsports Machine. I was about to call it the Coastal Link Printing Recap Machine. He finds himself in 6th, Henry Taylor 7th, Alexander Young 8th, ends up in Montien 9th, Brandon Abernathy rounding up your top 10, and John Antonino with issues for him in that session, putting him 12th overall. Nathan Dupuy 15, goes back to the rest of the field. With 30 drivers, they're getting set to go out onto the racetrack for the first of the pre-finals, and I believe on grid now is going to be your Swift Stars. Parker Ives, you talk about future stars, you talk about this kid here. Parker has been super, super quick all year long, and at this racetrack as well has been his favorite, as well a racetrack where he's grown up racing and spent a lot of time racing. But again, this weekend is going to be great, to say the least, and for that Nitro Kart, you're going to see him be quick as well throughout the weekend. But again, a gamble for him in the second heat race definitely didn't fall to his favor. They opted to go with the wet weather tires, and obviously the track dried up. They were quick at the start. All the Nitro Karts were, the likes of Ben Gleberman and as well Parker Ives and more were super quick for that RPM team. But again, as that race progressed, it got a little too dry and those tires overheated, and they unfortunately lost the gamble. But spoke to Parker Ives after that, and he was saying, he was like, you know what, it was a gamble. We're expecting to see this, and that was a very, very mature response from such a young driver. Before they go out onto the racetrack, some pickup getting set to go underway. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more of the warm-up sessions live from Trackhouse Motorplex.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida. and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Well, welcome back here to Trackhouse Motorplex, and one driver with issues there with a front tie rod that is snapped is out of this one early. That's Callan Berghofer and the AKT Performance, and it looked like he just absolutely clobbered that barrier on the left-hand side in turn number 2, and that's exactly what can happen if you hit that place on the wrong time. And we'll see if we can get a replay with that here in a couple of moments' time, but goodness gracious there for Callan Berghofer. Insane way to start your warm-up session, and again, not what you want early on, not even able to put in a whole lap in this warm-up session. And this again is also not what you want whenever you're going out there and fighting side by side with a couple of other drivers here out on the racetrack. Nicholas Mose, the driver qualified on the pole, is out there. Bergman in this big scrum here fighting for position. We see everybody start to shuffle through the order, but a driver who gambled yesterday, and it definitely fell into his hands, was Marco Samet in the BJR MDR LN Kart. Already has a win to his name so far this year. He won at the King of the Castle after post-race, I guess, penalties put him up there in the championship. And if I'm not mistaken, he finds himself in third here with 1,019 points. Your leader coming into this weekend is Parker Ives. His worst finish was 15th in the pre-final, and he was able to get all the way back up to second at round number 2 at Newcastle Motorsports Park. But he was very quick off the bat at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a second place in the first heat race, a first, and a first to end up the weekend, put him on top. And then you go back to first, fifth, 15th, and second on round number 2, and then a sixth place finish, a second, a fourth, and a first in round number 3, where he was able to get the win and extend that championship points lead. And then again in heat race number 1, he finished 14th. Obviously with that gamble that they took, and obviously went the wrong way. But in heat 2, it definitely benefited them. One driver with issues here, that looks to be Valentino Santillan, if I'm not mistaken, the 111 with a dragging rear bumper. And again, this is the time where you get all those little gremlins out of the way, and you know, you try and you know, fix those little bit of issues. And indeed, that is Valentino Santillan with a dragging rear bumper. So unfortunate there for Santillan. But further down the championship, so Parker Ives, your leader. Nico Katowski's the driver in second, and he's had a weekend to forget, to say the least. A 24th place finish in heat race number 1 and a 16th place finish in heat 2 have put him at a big deficit going into the pre-final later on today. He's at 1,024 points, so he's 120, 140-ish, if my math is correct. I'm not the best at math, but I think 140 points back from Parker Ives in the lead of this championship. Bergman, the Kart Republic, finds himself in the 4th spot, and Holden Myers in 5th, which has been a pretty consistent run for Holden Myers. But again, you need to get what you can take out of this one this weekend, especially when you have drivers like Cade Wolf and a lot of others that are going to be super quick around this place. But again, so you can be informed on the championship battles here in this one. Parker Ives, Katowski, and Samet, the drivers that are going to battle it out for the championship. And available for them, it's 100 points in the pre-final if you win. It goes down to 90. In third, you get 88. And if you get the fastest lap again, that's a little extra. In the final, it's 200 points available and 175 to the driver that finishes in second. So for a lot of these drivers, still working together, single file line. Nicholas Mose leading the train. Everybody else still driving their way through. And there's Valentino Santillan finally noticing that dragging rear bumper. He's going to stop there on the straightaway, still fired up, but going to let all his other competitors work their way through.
Yeah, and there he's going to rejoin and find his way back around the bowl in turn 5, 6 complex. And he's going to work his way into the pits and, get that rear bumper fixed up on that that Paralympic Cadet chassis there. And yesterday, Caleb, we've seen Callan Berghofer take that, I believe that was the Heat 2 win after Marcus Samet took that Heat 1 win in those mixed conditions. And, for Berghofer, he's had a really strong weekend. He was able to pick up his first ever national heat race win. So, definitely a huge boost to confidence for Callan on that AKT energy there. But, not how you want to start the morning off for him. And he's going to be getting back and, regrouping for the pre-final there later as we see his cart off to the side here. But currently on screen, that is one of the J&M carts there. I believe that is one of the Katowski brothers. I think that's Jack there. And in front of him, that's Bowen Green on that Timmy Tech comp cart. Bowen currently, no, excuse me. Yeah, that is Bowen. Bowen currently in the 3rd position on the timing with about 50 seconds left. And, a little smarter track position here for that driver on that Timmy Tech comp cart. You see that group in front of him battling it out up there. And, those drivers on screen there, not the best track position, but, they do get that benefit of the draft, Caleb.
Yeah, and I will say I understand the confusion because those Timmy Tech comp carts look exactly alike from livery, from gloves, from helmets as well. They make it, harder for us to pick them out. So that's, I guess, one of the hardest parts of our job. You can't always be looking at the timing screen and you're looking on the racetrack and you're trying to guess, is that Holden Myers? Is that Bowen Green? Is that Cade Wolf? And you get confused. So welcome to I guess, the party and to the struggle life of an announcer here, Jerry. But again, it's good to see these kids kind of progress, and they've provided us with some great racing action. Easton Kubinski was their most recent race winner in Swift action. That was in Micro Swift. But last weekend, or I guess last round at the Clash at the Club, it was James, oh, wow, Simon Jack Klein off the racetrack there. Unfortunate there for Klein here in this one. But again, your most recent race winner in this class was Parker Ives at the Clash at the Club, where he was able to finish ahead of the likes of Nico Katowski and Holden Myers, to finish 2nd and 3rd respectively. But checkered flag out now, and we get set to go green with your KA Stars here in a couple of moments' time. But we're going to look on here to the timing screen. Josh Bergman, quickest on the racetrack so far in this morning warm-up session. 52.568 for Josh Bergman. Then you go back to Katowski. That's much needed, especially considering how his weekend has gone. You go back to Las Vegas, Stewart, Bowen Green, your top 5 finishers. Benja Hernandez, Johnson, Mose, Samet, and Kate Wolf, your top 11. We go down to the rest of your field. Again, no pre-final beat for these drivers. Capped up at 27 total. But take a look back onto the grid, and your KA Stars drivers have definitely provided us with some great racing action all weekend long. This driver here, unfortunately, hasn't had the best of luck. Mateo Pappas has found himself with really bad luck, and he's shaking his head here, and I think he knows or can probably hear exactly what we're talking about. So good to hear you're in good spirits, Mateo, and nice steering wheel, by the way. I like it very much, Mr. MPI himself here this weekend, and there you have it. So good to hear from you. Mateo, how are you feeling today? Good? Thumbs up for good, thumbs down for bad, middle for just all right? Good? All right. Good to hear there from Mateo Pappas, and good that he can hear us here, I guess, trackside. And, he's obviously focused and getting set to go out onto the racetrack, but good to see him messing around here with us. And he is going to have to race his way into the main event later on today. As well goes for Brooke Knockman, a driver who has been super quick at this racetrack. Grew up racing here, and again, her return on the seat, she doesn't have as a busy schedule as the rest of the drivers, just a couple of one-offs for her here at Trackhouse Motorplex. But again, she was quick on the qualifying day and as well throughout the heat races. But again, just found herself on the bad end of the stick with some bad luck yesterday that is putting her starting 4th here in the pre-final B. And then a couple of other notables in this one as well. The 908 for the Factory Fury GP team as well. And then the list goes on and on. Shimbashi and a couple of others. I believe we're going to have 15 total. And then, again, the big story, Autumn Fisher back in action here today after a very, very scary wreck for her yesterday. So good to see her racing today. And I hope she's feeling all right so she can try and race her way in to the main event. And again, that was a scary incident for her, and we send the best wishes to the other driver involved. But for Autumn Fisher, she is racing, and she had a really good pace, to say the least, this weekend. A career best finish for her in the heat races where she finished 10th and inside of the top 10 in a couple of them. And, yeah, she definitely surprised a lot of people here this weekend. And, again, we wish her the best of luck as she tries to race her way in to the main event here later on today. But getting set to go out onto the racetrack, a couple of the factory carts getting set to go out, and we'll see how it all stacks up for all these drivers. Jaden Harry there, the driver on your screen. Again, had some good pace yesterday. He was fighting inside of the top 10, but a lot of these drivers have been plagued with bad luck all weekend long, and it's been kind of tough to see for some of them who, you know, are expecting to be up there and know they have the pace to be up there. Christian Valverde right behind them there with the Lewis Hamilton helmet, and everybody else onto the racetrack now. Look out for Mateo Pappas, a couple of other drivers, Byron Daly as well, who had issues, Rok Masters, and you go back down the order. So again, you look at the championship here in KA Stars, James Overbeck leads us by 159 points coming into the weekend, or I guess at this stage of the weekend. A second and a first for him so far this weekend. I've put him with a good gap back to Jackson Woney, who's second. That's a really good showing for the rookie, to say the least here, Jerry, to be up there and to be fighting. He's going to need a lot. I believe if Jackson Woney is able to win the pre-final, and if Overbeck DNFs in the main event and Woney does win, then that would go the way of Jackson Woney. That's obviously a big ask, especially for a driver of the caliber of James Overbeck. You go back to Brandon Lemke, the Wisconsin Wonder Kid, in third. Finnegan Bailiff looking to get himself up. He's about 60 points back from Lemke to end up on the podium of this championship. Bailiff fourth. Isambard currently sits fifth after he burst out onto the scene with great showings. But again, 35th place finish, a DNF for him at round number 3 at Motorsport Club of Cincinnati, but out of contention. We go back to Mick Gabriel, Noah Jackson, Eli Warren, who's not here this weekend, unfortunately. Ruben Zabo and Luke Powers, your top 10 drivers in this championship. When you look at these guys and girls out on the racetrack now, so far you're going to look at some drivers trying to work together to pull away from the rest of the field and try and race their way into the show. Mateo Pappas currently quickest to 55.736.
Yeah, right, Caleb. Mateo currently on top. And, you know, he's definitely going to be looking to race his way in. Carson Sarda there on that Factory Fury GP kart. Home base out at Whiteland Raceway Park. I've seen him testing out there a lot with the Factory Fury boys. He's going to be looking, you know, put that kart into the show later on tonight underneath the lights here at Trackhouse Motorplex. And, yeah, all these drivers plagued with issues, like you said, throughout the weekend. And, you know, obviously last night, I'm sure they were changing a bunch of stuff, you know, trying to figure out what could work better, you know, for their setup around these 11 corners here at Trackhouse. And about 4 minutes and 45 seconds here left. Brooke Knockman currently on top. And looks like on our screen here we have, that's Finnegan Bailiff. And
there's a mechanic there in Jarrett looking on, and Riley Pegram as well. Shifter driver that is supporting her boyfriend here in Finnegan Bailiff. So he sits fourth in the championship, looking to get himself into the podium places. And again, he had a good showing at the Motorsport Club of Cincinnati, his backyard. So look out for Bailiff to be up there. He finished second in that final for just short to, I believe, was Mick Gabriel, who was, James Overbeck, who was able to take the win. Bailiff looked to close in, but obviously just ran out of time. And that was Overbeck's maiden win, and he hasn't looked back since. Was able to clinch that SCUSA Pro Tour Championship as well. So look out for them. They're slated to come out onto the racetrack next. Byron Daly, a pretty quick showing for him so far in this morning warm-up session. You see those barriers continuing to get moved around. And the three drivers on your screen are the three drivers that are quickest. Carson Sauter, not too far back, in the fourth spot. And third on track in that Factory Fury GP machine. We look back onto the grid here with a couple of other drivers that find themselves in contention for a championship. Mick Gabriel, who had a good showing so far this year. He won the opening round didn't win the opening round, sorry, has won a couple of heat races so far this weekend, and you see it right there. That pretty much says it all. AEM karting, who cares on who's driving that go-kart? It's going to go fast regardless, and Quick Mate Gabriel has definitely been quick. He's slated to go over to France as well for their Miami Grand National Championship that they have. So best wishes and best of luck to Mick Gabriel, who won in Wisconsin and won that ticket to go over there. But again, bigger picture here this weekend for him. 6th in the championship. It's going to be a tall ask for Mick to get himself in the fight, but he's definitely going to be quicker here.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. And with Alan Isambard only about 30 points up on him, and Alan has had a little bit of a struggle weekend here. It doesn't really seem like Alan had that ultra fast pace that I believe we've seen earlier this year in I believe the month of June. And he's definitely going to be looking to get back to that oh so fast pace that we've seen from Alan this year. And Nick, kind of the same story yesterday. It seemed like Nick had a P3 finish in that P2 and a P14 in that first heat race. So that's going to be about a P6 or P7 average, or excuse me, P8 or P9 average there for Nick going into that pre-final today. And yeah, Byron Daly currently on top in this warm-up B here with the K100 seniors. Mateo Pappas right behind him. Autumn Fisher on track. Not too sure where she is on track. We haven't really seen her so far in this warm-up session, but after that oh-so-scary incident last night, we're very happy that she is okay and good to go today. And like you said, Caleb, best wishes to the driver that was also in that incident. We're hoping he can heal up soon.
Yeah, we look back on the grid here with a couple of more drivers that are getting set to go out onto the racetrack here in a couple of moments' time. But here on the racetrack there is James Overbeck, Drew James, and a couple of others. Raheem Alabayal and Isambard in the background. This here on the bottom of your screen is your championship points leader. He's within a best shot to clinch 2 national championships in a KA class that's been so stacked this year, Jerry. He is within the best shot to go back-to-back in major national championships, which is the Star Championship Series here this weekend, and as well in Screws Up Pro Tour racing action. He is a little bit behind in the United States Pro Kart Series Championship, where he finds himself a little bit ways back. So that's going to be a tall ask for James, but again, a win at MCC definitely fell into his favor and helped him out a whole lot. So that's going to be interesting to see for James Overbeck, and we'll see how he holds up in that morning warm-up session. But Byron Daly and Mateo Pappas working well together. Autumn Fisher is up to 3rd. So a good start for Autumn Fisher. And funny enough to hear from Byron Daly yesterday, or this morning, I should say, when we were walking into the paddock. He was telling us that, he wasn't the smartest yesterday in the second heat race. That kind of made a mistake on the outlap, put him behind, and then he said, if I was a little bit smarter and didn't cut the racetrack, then I wouldn't have gotten a gazillion, I guess, a multi-position penalty for cutting the track. And he said, I'm an experienced driver. He's about 30, if I'm not mistaken. He pretty much said, if I wasn't driving like I was, a junior or whatever, younger, then I would have been in that main event. But it's been hard to adapt to that best card. It's been hard to adapt to, I guess, the racing as well. So I get to see Byron, the quickest in the morning warm-up session. I'm going to see Autumn as well, out on the racetrack now, and we talked about her a whole lot. She's been in the spotlight. She's been fighting inside of the top 10, so look out for Autumn Fisher to try and race her way in to the main event later on today. There's Noah Jackson, and this kid has been quick as well this weekend, finding himself kind of at the tail end of the group. But again, he's a driver to look out for. He started the year off in X30 Pro over at AMR Homestead, his home track. And then you come here, he's been racing KA as well with the strong contingent fraternity karting group, Kart Republic. So look out for Noah Jackson to try and race his way up the order here this weekend and here in a couple of moments' time. Checkered flag is out for your KA Stars warm-up 2. And Byron Daly quickest at 50.231. Pappas 2nd, Autumn Fisher 3rd, Nachman to Shimbashi. You go back to Sauter, Comerford, Frederick Manning, Chase Adams, and Jake James, brother of Drew James, here trying to race his way into the main event. You go back to the rest of the drivers, Peyton Klein, 14th, and the list goes on and on and on. But this kid, the rookie sensation so far this year, he made his X30 Pro debut 2 weeks ago at the Miami Grand National Championships, and this weekend he's within a shot. It's gonna be a long shot, to say the least, especially with the form that James Overbeck has been in the past 2 months. But for Jackson Woney on that Kart Republic for Speed Concepts Racing, he's second in the championship on what was his first full senior championship here this year at the Star Championship Series. But the Wisconsin Wonder Kid as well has been quick. He's been consistent, and he's been up there. Lemke, unfortunately, a little bit ways back, but within a shot, he sits third at the moment in chasing down. He's only 6 points behind Jackson Woney, so those two drivers well within a shot for a championship here this weekend. But there's been a couple of standouts, a couple of one-offs for a couple of drivers, and the biggest story has been Carter McMurray on what could be his last senior national race win of his career, and the last time we may see him here live on Kart Chaser. Carter McMurray is going to lead the field out, and he's been super, super quick already this weekend. And obviously he's not in championship talks, but he finds himself within a good shot, to say the least here, Jerry, to get himself in contention for what could be a race win here this weekend. Obviously different, you're thinking about a little bit of a different perspective for him. He finds himself just focused on winning the race, not the championship, not the long haul. So you see a couple of drivers as well not risk all too much. Another one that has also been super strong is the likes of Hayden Jones, who has been quick, all weekend long at his home track here racing KA this weekend by himself, just his mechanic here with him. But again, look out for Jones, and I don't see him out on the racetrack here early on. Not sure if Hayden made it out this morning or if he even wanted to practice this morning, but again, it's just to knock out those little bits of gremlins. And indeed, Jake Drew is not out on the racetrack yet, or I believe just went out on the racetrack. So Jake Drew is out there. Hayden Jones and Chris Harrower, the two drivers that aren't in. There's 30 drivers that are officially qualified into the main event here, Jerry, but only a couple are able to get through. And Hayden Jones, indeed, is out there on the racetrack, just completed his first full lap at full song. So, again, it could be mixed up wherever they did choose to go out to. But, Jerry, we've had a lot of standouts and a lot of racing action. Who has impressed you the most?
Yeah, well, we mentioned how Jake Drew was here by himself in that garage this weekend, and talked a little bit about his setup for this weekend. No new tires throughout the practice sessions, but, you still expect the exact same that we've seen from Jake Drew all throughout his career, to still have that pace to be able to run into that lead group and contend for the win. And like you said, Jackson only second in the points right now, currently on screen for all of you guys at home. Jackson's had quite a solid year, moving up into the senior ranks and, getting used to the different type of driving styles in the senior class and adapting to how, everything is different. When you're no longer into that junior class, and you got to realize that these guys in senior, they've been going way longer than Jackson has. There's some guys the ages anywhere from 26 to 30 in this class, and I believe Jackson at the young age of I believe 16 or 15 years old, being one of the youngest in this class, outside of the likes of Carter McMurray and drivers behind Brandon Lemke there, like Jared Clark. We can talk a little bit about Jared's setup. I talked to him at the Miami Grands, and we've seen him on track, and he said, I just didn't have what I needed to, really show my pace. And, he figured out a little bit this weekend that track position was really what he had to work on. And, because we have 30 karts on track right now, and, you don't want to be in the middle of a group that's fighting, because you won't be able to set a time, good enough on the board to really show your raw pace. And, Overbeck there going for a move. I believe Andrew Hamill, he's now going to put himself behind his teammate there of Jared Clark. And, I feel like Jared's had a pretty solid weekend. And, someone else as well to mention, Caleb. Hudson Brown took that heat win yesterday. And on that gold card underneath AEM karting this weekend for Hudson. And, he had a pretty solid weekend as well.
Yeah, so we move on to Jared Clark here, the 961. And again, a little bit of an experience for Jared Clark to start off the weekend. He was defending just a little bit too early, in my opinion, and found himself in some battles that could have been too early throughout the races. But for Jared Clark to kind of move, solely this year to up to the two short categories, he's had a good showing across Cup Karts North America, where he's been a contender for the Coyote and Precision Performance karting team, and the BJR MDR team as well. He has a lot of laps around this place and has been really, really good, to say the least. So look out for Jared Clark as well. And I know he probably got some coaching from Jarsa Crack and a couple of others of how to kind of slow down a little bit of what we see in the KA senior class, just a little bit of desperation driving. So look out for Clark. In my opinion, he's definitely going to be a factor later on today to help out his teammate, which is right behind him, in James Overbeck, your championship points leader. Last year, this kid, the 948, won the championship and he didn't win a single race. Finished on the podium multiple times on the year, but did not want to wear the number 1 plate this year because he didn't feel like he deserved it. This year, this kid absolutely deserves it. He started off the year with what people said was podium allegations. He then went on to the second round, fell just short to a guy like Oliver Hodgson, finished in second place. He beat the podium allegations, and then the next thing that he told me was, now I have winning allegations. And then he shows back up to the Motor Friction Club of Cincinnati, where he takes his maiden national race victory. And then if you go to SCUSA Pro Tour, he wins that championship in commanding fashion. And then you come here to this weekend. James Overbeck is the favorite in the KA Stars Championship, looking to go back-to-back in championship racing action. He moved through the field with Zabo, as well as had a pretty good weekend so far, and to get himself in the mix for that Ryan Perry Motorsport team. Had a big talk with him. He said, you know what, at night this track feels a lot faster than what it looks like. And Raheem Alibi is also another one of those drivers that has raced his way in. Why don't we talk a little bit about here the 953 Mr. April, Alan Isambard. He started off the year and was he had the allegations as well of being a one-track wonder, and then we show up to Sweet Sports Racing Park for the United States Pro Kart Series. He wins that race over the likes of Elio Meza and a very, very stacked KA field. And then you come back here to the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina a couple of weeks later, and he wins again against what was a stacked KA field. Mick Gabriel diving into the pits here early. So good to see Alan Isambard here this weekend. And another one of the big stories so far, this is probably the most that Drew James has been in the seat so far for that Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic team. And for him, he hasn't always been in the seat. He spent a lot of weekends wrenching and mechanicking for other drivers and other drivers under the 10, and a little bit of a work exchange for him with Sean Bailiff and that Trinity Karting Group team to get himself back in the seat, to find himself with the budget to run for a team and to be competitive. And he's definitely taken that by the reins and taken advantage of that. And at his home track, he's within a shot to finish well inside of the top 10. And again, could be a factor. The driver that just passed him, Hudson Brown, again, we talk about CKA, we talk about 206. That's a driver that was super strong across 4-stroke categories and is still strong across 4-stroke categories on that gold card. And this weekend finally got that maiden heat race national victory, but a BF for 9:05.
I think that's
Andrew Hamill there. But again, with Hudson Brown, who got his first 2-stroke victory a couple of weeks ago here at Trackhouse Motorplex in the Club Series. But again, for him, he did a full season. For a guy who hasn't, it's Hayden Jones. Ran the first round at a Charlotte Motor Speedway just with Caleb Gaffera on a privateer option. And then you come here this weekend, again, nothing on the line for him. All he wants is to win the night fight. Double checkers are in the air now. And you look at how your warm-up session finished. James Overbeck, fastest on the racetrack, only second. Jared Clark, again, we talked about him being a factor. He finished third. Mick Gabriel fourth. Luke, welcome inside of the top 5. Finishing fifth. And again, joked around with him a little bit yesterday. He was like, thanks for using my last name as a pun. That was very punny, to say the least. But Carter McMurray able to get himself inside of the top 5 as well. Jake Drew, P7 there for the GFC team. And then Hudson Brown on the go-kart. Brandon Lemke, Finnegan Bailiff rounding up your top 10. Hayden Jones on his own, 13th. Through James 14th, through Zabo rounding up your top 15. So those are your 30 drivers that are getting set to take the green flag for pre-final A. And again, these are all qualified. If they DNF or whatever happens to them in the pre-final, that still puts them into the main event. Whatever happens there does not matter. So again, we'll see how it all plays out. A couple of drivers working their way into the pits, the last couple working their way in. And that being said, we'll take a commercial break. When we come back, more racing action getting set to come your way with OKNJ, the last of your warm-up sessions.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Maryland USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Well, the last year warm-up sessions out on the racetrack now. Again, this is going to be the end of our free coverage when these 5 minutes are up. So if you want to watch all the racing action live later on today, make sure to become a KCP member for $9.99 a month. Pre-final starting at 1:40. We're going to have a little bit of a break after the session is wrapped up, about 10 minutes or so, 15 it should be, of a break for us here. And we're going to go live again on the other side for our KCP member stream with KA Masters at 1:40 p.m. Those pre-finals are 12 minutes plus 2 laps. And again, $9.99 a month, KCP member. Catch all the racing action live, and your pro show warm-up won't be until in between OK and J. And then you go into what looks to be the pre-final for OK and Stars and others as well. Sorry, it's going to be the warm-ups for them at 4 p.m. and then 4:10 p.m. for Pro Stars. So again, here's the schedule on the bottom of your screen. That's what's set to come your way here in a couple of moments' time. This is going to be the end of our free coverage, so make sure to tune in later on today. Big championship implications for all the classes, and this one especially as well. That's plagued this class with mechanical DNFs in the first round, and then as they've gotten more and more used to it, this is, I guess, one of the recaps there that's coming your way later on today whenever those pros do hit the racetrack. But we'll take a look at the championship battles here throughout this OKNJ championship. John Antonino leads the championship by 3 points here. 1,129 points for Antonino. Davin Robertson second, back by 3, but he's had a really good start to his weekend. 2 wins in the heat races have put him closer and closer to that championship. Max Weiland sits in third, Gage Korn fourth, Chase Gasly in fifth. From Malquit sits in sixth, McGoy in seventh. Obviously not here this weekend. Unfortunately missed round number 3 as well. Forrest Adams started off the year, the first 2 rounds, and he sits in 8th, not racing in OKNJ this weekend. Tarwin Kemper Jr. as well after the second round hasn't returned. Golseth, who has only done rounds number 3 and 4, finds himself in 10th in the championship. But again, one of the ones to look out for here is going to be a couple of these drivers that have had a good showing, to say the least. Isaac Malquit wants a much better weekend, and he was unhappy, to say the least, with how his day unfolded yesterday. But when you look at the time so far, Chase Gasly, as you can see there on the top left-hand side of your screen. Gasly leads quickest with a 47.588. Behind him is Isaac Malquit, a 47.645, and Gasly just went that little bit quicker. You see that gap open up. He just ran a 47.455. Golseth is in third, so that's a good showing for Golseth so far this morning. Antonino, Weiland, and Davin Roberts currently 16th.
Yeah, Caleb. I was able to talk to young Nate Golseth this morning, and telling me that he's been developing all throughout the year, but He was going to be going from, I believe, the rear of that KA100 Junior A pre-final. And he's definitely going to have to work his way forward there. But, here in the OKN Junior class, Nate's been, I believe Nate had a P5 and a P6 in the heat races. He's looking to improve on that. Currently he has P2 on the boards, about a 10th off of Chase Gassioli on that Coastal Wing custom printing EOS there. And Gassioli now coming through your first corner here. And, Caleb, we talked about those barriers. And, at this point in warm-ups, the track is probably the best it's been. With a little bit of sunshine on the track, bringing up that track temp a little bit. And, we're going to see our lap times closer to where we were at about, 1, 2 o'clock yesterday. And as soon as we get these pre-finals rolling around the track. But Davin Roberts, we've seen him sweep the heat race yesterday, doing everything he needed to get closer to that P1 position on the points. And, doing everything he needed to. Antonino, I believe, a 5th and a 4th for him. So Antonino going to be looking for a little more pace. Currently, Antonino 4/10 off here in this warm-up session. Like I mentioned earlier, Caleb, it's hard to really gauge where everyone is because, you don't know what tire life everyone is on. But, Max Wiley now into that 4th position across the line, and Chase Gassioli behind him with a minute left.
Yeah, and that was a really good point you brought up about, what set of tires you're choosing to go on to the warm-up session. Could be scuffs, but issues for somebody's starter there. That's just on the main straightaway there, it looks like. Somebody's starter just completely flew off the go-kart. These do not have starters, so you don't have to worry about that. These are direct drive. You push them off, so these don't have buttons to push to start and to turn off. That's on a KA or a Micro Swift class. It could be the KA class that unfortunately had something fly off of somebody's go-kart there, so unfortunate. But a couple of shuffling on the order so far. Nate Bolsett is up to 2nd, back by a 10th from Chase Gassioli, so a good showing for Nate Golsett so far. This session getting set to get wrapped up here. 15 seconds to go, Jerry.
And something to mention, Caleb, is I don't see Sebastian Rist on our timing here. I'm not sure if he did make it out on the track for this warm-up session this morning, but we're seeing Sebastian, I believe, pair of P7s for him. Not too far off in times, about only 2/10 off to, the 5th and 4th runners in those heat races. So hopefully we can see if Sebastian is going to be indeed on track, but this warm-up just getting finished here.
Yeah, warm-up is getting wrapped up here. Checkered flag out in the air. And again, it's been a great morning warm-up session for everybody here at Trackhouse Motorplex. We had it all in this morning warm-up show where we had donuts earlier on today, Jerry. We saw some mechanical failures for a couple of drivers and contact in between others. And it's been, a weekend of trials and turbulations for a lot of drivers, but this is make or break. All the talk about warm-up and championship, all that's over. You have to start to show it out on the racetrack as Golseth goes quickest on the racetrack, and that's a good showing for him to end up his day here in unofficial results in OKNJ. Gassioli 2nd, Roberts 3rd, Malquit, Weiland to Antonino, your championship points leader. And enough being said, it's time to go racing and define who's going to win the championships here in 2024. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the Starters Championship Series. We'll see you on the other side.